Meanwhile, Afghan refugees have started to arrive stateside, including at Fort McCoy in western Wisconsin. The military base is providing temporary housing and support for Afghans with special immigrant visa applicants and also their family members. Joining us now to discuss, Wisconsin Congressman Glenn Grothman, who's also a ranking member of the House Oversight Committee on National Security. Congressman, thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, glad to be on the show. Wish it was to talk about rosier news.
Absolutely. It's nice to see you. And perhaps there is some good news in the fact that Wisconsin is welcoming refugees. Wisconsin Public Radio reporting that it's not clear exactly how many refugees Fort McCoy will be receiving. But so far, Congressman, do you know how many have arrived? And what's the process like to really determine which Afghans are able to leave Kabul and safely arrive at Fort McCoy?
Well, this is a big question. We really haven't got the answers on it. And we want to make sure that people who are arriving in the United States are people who have really helped us, that we're not getting any people who are a potential concern down the road. And we really don't know where these people are going to wind up, right? They're first transferred to Camp McCoy, but where they're going to go afterwards, we have not yet been informed.
So it sounds like you're raising concern about screening efforts. Is that correct?
Well, right. I think that's a concern if we're going to have, thousands or tens of thousands of people coming to this country. That's true.
What steps do you think should be taken to ensure the safety of Afghans arriving and also people who currently live in the United States?
Well, I think we're going to have a thorough procedure at Camp McCoy as far as we're dealing with the people, try to Americanize them as soon as possible. I think a good analogy years ago was the Hmong who helped us in Vietnam, and obviously they become a very positive force in America. We have a lot of Hmong in Wisconsin to this day, and hopefully we can do the same thing with the Afghans that are being let in.
I want to talk to you about some other news of the day here while we've got you on the program. The CIA director reportedly holding talks with Taliban leadership in Kabul as President Biden prepares for his own virtual G7 meeting. This is, of course, amid pressure to extend the withdrawal timeline. What's your assessment of how the Biden administration has handled the evacuation so far?
Well, it's kind of pathetic. And I think what we have here is the reputation of the Biden administration for being weak is something that permeates this whole crisis, right? I mean, first of all, you talk about him physically and, the way he handles himself. But secondly, you look what happened at the Mexican border, and we're just hitting records as far as the number of people let in here in a month. And I think the rest of the world notices that, and the Taliban notices that. They know they're dealing with an administration that's kind of weak. And there was an agreement cut, but the Taliban should have been afraid to break that agreement. They should have felt we're dealing with a strong personality. The United States is a strong country, and if we break the agreement, we're in trouble. Instead, they break the agreement, and it's us who are in trouble, and that's the problem. I mean, plus it just looks in general incompetent, the inability to inform our allies what's going on. And I think the Taliban are almost having fun with Joe Biden right now.
Let's talk about the fact that there are still an unknown number of Americans who are in Afghanistan who are trying to get out of the country. There have been reports that those Americans are stranded. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, though, had a much different view of that. Here's Jen Psaki.
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home. We are in touch with them via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to get them home if they want to return home.
There are no Americans stranded is the White House's official position on what's happening in Afghanistan right now.
I'm just calling you out for saying that we are stranding Americans in Afghanistan when we have been very clear that we are not leaving Americans who want to return home. We are going to bring them home.
And according to the current timeline, they have a week to do so. But Congressman, have you heard from people in Afghanistan who feel as though they're stranded at this point?
Well, we certainly get contact from people in my district, as I'm sure all congressmen are, about both Americans and Afghan interpreters who they want to get here, and they're not here yet. We have no idea how many Americans are over there. I don't even know where they all are. So in that regard, you're stranded. I mean, if I was in Afghanistan, particularly I was in Afghanistan, not in Kabul, I would certainly feel stranded. And like I said, the concern is I don't think the Taliban are afraid of the United States in any way. which means they have their way with the people there. They have their way threatening Americans or threatening Christians or what have you. And that's what happens until we reestablish the fact that we're a strong country and you don't mess with this agreement.
Finally, before we let you go, I've got to ask you about what's happening in Washington right now, where there's contention among Democrats over that $3.5 trillion spending bill. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrats working to break a deadlock last night, but failing to get everyone's support. What's your reaction to what's happening on the other side of the aisle, and also where Republicans stand when it comes to this spending bill?
Well, I think we're appalled that obviously a lot of this is going to be paid for with the Federal Reserve printing more money, which means more inflation, more high cost of housing, high cost of food, that sort of thing. I think it's good to see finally a few Democrats standing up to the extremists in the Democrat Party. I mean, so far it's been Ocasio-Cortez kind of, running the show over there and Nancy Pelosi doing whatever they want. And it's kind of sad to see the once proud Democratic Party digressing into this radical left-wing idea. So I'm glad that the 9 or 10 Democrats are finally standing up, and I hope they have success in finally reining in this out-of-control spending a little bit.
All right, we'll wait and see what happens. Wisconsin Congressman Glenn Grothman joining us on the program. Congressman, thank you very much.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.